Welcome to Forever the Johnsons, where marriage meets real life.
We're Rod and Shireen Johnson, and this podcast is our open conversation about love, marriage, careers, faith, and growing together in the middle of busy lives.
And we're not here pretending we have it all figured out, because we don't.
We're learning in real time, just like you, and we wanted a space where we could talk honestly about what relationships really look like once the cameras are off.
From balancing ambition and intimacy,
To communication, conflict, and staying connected while life keeps moving.
we're talking about all the conversations that couples avoid.
And the lessons you usually only learn after you go through it.
This podcast is for the couples who are building something together.
For the ones trying to love well while still chasing purpose.
So whether you're single, dating, engaged, or even married,
Or simply trying to understand relationships better,
welcome to Forever the Johnsons.
Good morning. Welcome back to Forever the Johnsons.
What's good, everyone? This moment feels heavy. It feels heavy in a good way. Starting the podcast again, this feels intentional this time, and it feels earned. We definitely apologize. We didn't plan to disappear at all, but you know how it is. Life just started lifing fast and all at once.
Nothing was wrong, but it's like everything just needed our attention. Before speaking publicly about marriage again, we needed to tend to our own relationship privately. I'm not saying anything was wrong, but child, things were falling apart in the house. Our dog was acting crazy. Y'all, we just had to get it together.
And you just have to understand that marriage doesn't usually fall apart in explosions. When stuff like this happens, it drifts quietly and it leaks into your business. It causes exhaustion. And then there's a lot of unspoken expectations within your relationship that you have to address.
We had to ask ourselves if we were protecting our marriage in the same way we protect everything else. No, we were not.
And then we realize that our presence is actually the currency of our intimacy. And sometimes just being physically together isn't the same as being emotionally connected.
I missed emotional presence more than anything. Not attention, but presence.
And the pressure showed up in ways that we honestly didn't even realize. The pressure to provide, being a man, to lead, and honestly to keep going when things were falling apart.
Exactly. It gets so crazy, but I feel like I carried that pressure quietly, trying not to add more to my plate or even your plate, babe, while I was minimizing my own needs, which wasn't right for myself.
And then as far as our faith, as a man, we even had to ask ourselves, are we even inviting God into our relationship? Are we inviting God into our rhythm, or are we just inviting him to our emergencies?
So when we started praying together again, our pride softened and conversations changed. Y'all, we even stopped watching church online and started going to church in person. We even joined a church.
And at the time, I was just getting so busy being a young man, being married to a beautiful woman, just trying to find a way for us to be, to be rich, wealthy, so my wife doesn't have to work. And I had to realize that intimacy is emotional safety. So I had to look at myself, put my pride and ego away, and realize that, okay, my wife needs me in specific times. I can't just focus on business all the time.
And I'm not saying business is not important. Obviously it is. It's how the bills get paid. But it's so important to have an intimate relationship with your partner, or relationships just aren't going to last.
So we both realized that our marriage requires flexibility and not just loyalty, but above all, consistency.
And above all, God. I feel like God has just been there for us in so many different ways. Things we might not even think about, God has been there every step of the way. So if your relationship feels off, it doesn't mean it's over.
And pauses don't always mean quit. Sometimes they mean you just need to adjust.
So, babe, let's tell the people, what have we been doing over the past? It's almost been 8 months since our last podcast episode.
We had the wedding. We ended up going to Kenya and Zanzibar for the honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, and then we just got back from Barcelona and Morocco.
So, y'all, we have been traveling. We've been working. We've been going to events in the DMV. We've been having a great time.
And then on top of that, just trying to find a way to save money in the midst of everything that we had to pay for after our wedding, as far as the honeymoon, the trips for your birthday, stuff happening as
And
far
you
as
went
like
on a
things in the
trip for your
house.
birthday too.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about that.
We
Yeah.
traveled so much in 2025. Like, oh, we're gonna restart the podcast.
Yeah, and just keeping the simple things, and keeping the main things the main things. We just really just needed to regroup and just reevaluate our relationship, not from a love standpoint, but from a system standpoint. Like, how are we operating? Are we operating out of love? Are we being consistent with each other? Are we being consistent with our time and our schedules in relation to the feelings of our partners? So just trying to figure things out.
Absolutely. And then, y'all, we got big.
Oh yeah, we got fat as freak. Yeah, we got fat as freak, boy.
Like, I feel like when we went to Kenya and Tanzania, I was sitting at like 195.
Oh, you were like 198, almost
Hey,
200.
relax.
I'm just being honest.
Relax.
But I was like pushing 240, so I can't speak either.
Like, it was crazy because I'm a naturally like small girl. I grew up being tiny. Me, almost 200? That's crazy.
And it's just one of those things to where you don't notice it until you see yourself in the mirror. And in our instant, we were at Zara one day, and my wife was trying on dresses and stuff for your birthday. And I remember she saw this dress that she really loved.
Wait, what, for my birthday? No, it wasn't for my birthday.
What was it for?
It wasn't
for
my
an
birthday
event or
because
something.
I lost weight before my birthday.
It was for an event or
It
something.
was for some event, a wedding or something we had to go to. Or no, our anniversary. It was in August or July because I was looking for dresses for our anniversary.
But yes, okay, yeah, that makes more sense as far as the time. But yeah, so she was trying on this dress. She comes out the dressing room crying. I'm over here like, bro, did somebody like punch her in the? I didn't know what was going on. So she comes out the dressing room crying, and she was like, I can't fit this. I'm big. And at the time, I'm big too. So it's not like I can be like, well, you need to go work out because I'm just as big.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I realized like all of the minor issues and problems that we were having just boiled down to we just were not being consistent. And then that inconsistency was messing up our communication. It was messing up our finances. It was even messing up our intimacy at times.
Yeah. It's like, you don't think that these things make such a difference. But child, when you get it together, your life will change. Like this year, I want to say from like July to now, we're in January 2026. I've lost like 40 pounds.
Yeah, because how much you weighing now? Like 160?
Like 160. And I was almost at 200.
And I was at 240. And this morning I weighed in at 195.
So it's like, you think it's not a big deal. Like, people push just happiness. And yeah, happiness is great. But you have to think about like how you are as a person. Is something causing you not to be the person that you were?
And there's also just understanding who we need to be around versus who we need to just let go. And it was crazy because when we lost the weight, we started being more consistent with other things. Obviously, intimacy goes through the roof because you have more energy to do specific things that we don't have to say. We're all grown here, right? But we started to realize like we got closer to God. And it wasn't that we even had to have conversations with people about, yeah, we don't think that, this relationship is going to be beneficial going forward. It's just God just slowly but surely just removed people from our lives and or removed us from their lives as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, there were people like I thought I would be friends with forever that I don't even talk to anymore.
And it's one of those things to where it's like, how do you battle that as a couple? And then just being a young man, like just looking at your wife and her seeing like I don't really have real friends, and I'm looking like, well, I can be your friend, but hell, I don't even want to be my friend all the time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things to where like just finding genuine people, making sure we're staying around just married couples. There's nothing wrong with singles, but
Yeah.
obviously we just can't do the single stuff anymore. So just being conscious about who we're keeping company.
And I'm not saying that I don't have any friends that are single, because I have a lot of single friends still. But the friends that I do have, they want to be married and they are looking at dating intentionally. So it's just different.
And then one of the biggest things that I believe that we learned since our hiatus from the podcast is just truly how can we both learn to mesh together and actually work together as one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was something early on in our relationship that we just honestly we just struggled with, because you think there's societal roles, like a man's supposed to do this, a woman's supposed to do that, and that's not really always the case. When you're growing in God, you just start to naturally do these things because you're allowing God to move you in the way that he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, we didn't have that, honestly. Like we prayed every now and then, but we couldn't fully
Wasn't
say that God was in
consistent.
our relationship.
And it's like we were married and we didn't even have a joint bank account,
Facts.
which is
Facts.
so crazy to think about now, because like your money, that's such a big part of a relationship, or even like being an individual. So the fact that we still had two individual bank accounts and we would constantly have to like send money to each other for bills, etc., it was crazy.
And then more so for the guys, just learning how to say no to your wife and like just really standing on it. And that comes with your maturity and your faith in God as well. That's something that I had to learn again through our hiatus. And I was just telling my wife a couple of days ago, I said, the thought of you leaving never crosses my mind. So why am I worried about altercation? A lot of the times we tend to get silent and thinking that our silence is actually peaceful, but that brings more trouble. So welcome the conflict, welcome the altercations with your wife. I told her I want all the smoke, right? So if I tell her no and she get an attitude, like it is what it is, right? Because there's a reason behind it and you have to stand on that because God is supposed to be leading you in your decisions.
Because I'm actually a big communicator. Like anytime we get in an argument, he's looking at me like, girl, no, you're not. But I am. Like anytime we get in an argument, I always want to talk about the argument. I don't want Rod to stonewall me and we're just looking at each other like, what's going on? Like I want to talk about it right then and there. And that was not happening.
So now it's one of those things to where I'll just act like Shireen for a day or act like Shireen for a week just so she can see my perspective of how I see that she treats me at times. And she may do the same to me, but it puts both of us in perspective like, okay, maybe I need to work on this, right? Or, okay, maybe I shouldn't say things like this.
And when you're in a marriage, like not just a girlfriend boyfriend relationship, when you're in a marriage, you really have to think about your spouse. Like you can't just be all about yourself, think about yourself. Like you are very important. Take care of yourself. Self-care is important, all of that. But you have to think about your spouse or your marriage, your engagement. It's not going to last.
But on this podcast going forward, we're going to have monthly themes. Obviously, we have the episodes pre-recorded this time, so we'll actually have content actually coming out. So again, we're sorry about the inconsistency, but we will be consistent this year. But just understand that going forward, like this isn't a restart, not just for us in the podcast. This is a recommitment.
Exactly. I feel like healthy love isn't built by accident. It's built on purpose, as well as our podcast.
And this is Forever the Johnsons.
And we're walking this out together. Have a good one, guys.